Hello, today I'm painting this dog in gouache, and as you can see I divided my reference photo into thirds, horizontally and vertically, and I'm painting on this Fabriano Artistico hot press watercolor block, and it's 5x7. So I've just kind of roughly divided my block into thirds, and I'm just going to sketch in my dog with very roughly with watercolor pencil, and I'm using an Albrecht Dürer, Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer Van Dyke Brown, and I'm just finding where things kind of hit my lines here. Let's go up to the top of his head, and you can see that the left side of his right ear goes right into that intersection there, and you can see that the angle is like this, and then his ear comes down like this, and you're just looking at angles, trying to place things in this space. The eye falls above the halfway mark. It's kind of a quarter of the way, so his one eye is pretty much like right there, and then his other eye ends at this line, but make sure that his eyes are angling down in the same angle as the top of his head, so this eye kind of comes down find the pupils. You don't have to worry too much about the curves. I just want to get the size and shape. The eye kind of angles down. The eyes are a little bit almond shaped. So the center, the corners of the eyes where the tear ducts are, need to line up at the same angle as the top of the head is. So let's see. And the good thing about using a watercolor pencil is that you can kind of sketch in some of the darks, and all of this is going to go away when we start adding water to it. That's why I'm using a pencil that has the same tones that I'm going to be using, so I can just put some of the darks in. I probably shouldn't worry about that right now. I should worry more about getting these eyes placed correctly, and they need to be parallel with the angle of his head, and they need to be the same size. So I just want to make sure that I've got these angles correct. Now I'm just laying in the rest of the features using my grid to see where everything goes, and putting in some of the dark areas so that when I start to go over it with gouache, those areas will blend in and just kind of fade away and fade into the gouache. Darkening up the outline around his head and defining his eyes. So now I'm going to take some burnt umber and mix in some water with it, and then I'm going to mix in some ultramarine blue to make a nice dark brown And in this way I can adjust the warmth or coolness by adding more burnt umber and less ultramarine blue, or the opposite. Make it cooler by adding more ultramarine blue and less burnt umber. So I'm painting in my darker areas here. And I'm speeding it up. So you can see that I'm using a 1/2 inch flat synthetic brush to put those darker areas in. Now you can see I'm adding some water to make that dark color a little bit more transparent. And I'm just brushing in that lighter version over the rest of his fur. I've added some ultramarine blue and some titanium white together with some of the burnt umber to make some cooler areas that I'm brushing in right now. And then I'll take some burnt sienna and add it with some white to make some warmer. So I'm starting to build up some more opaque areas here. And I'll just keep adding areas and going back and forth and kind of strengthening things and defining areas like the eyes. At this point, I wasn't feeling real great about my painting. I just decided to take some bright pink, Cosmos pink acrylic gouache, and brush it into the background, and I kind of like that. So here it is with the pink background. I'm still not sure. I think I'm just going to veer away from realism at this point. And so I think it needs some more burnt sienna tones in his fur. I put the yellow in his eyes, the yellowy orange in his eyes, so feeling like his fur needs to be warmed up in places, although in other places it's still picking up cooler reflective highlights. So I'm going to just go put some burnt sienna in and some darker areas in his eyes to define them. And then I switched completely over to using my Faber-Castell Abrac Dur watercolor pencils to just put some brown, and that pencil on the left is cinnamon. It's one of my favorite colors. And just defining the outline completely around his head with a dark brown pencil. And I really like the consistency of these pencils even without using water with them. Working over top of gouache is really nice with them, and you can go over them with water or not. You know, if you don't, they have just such a nice consistency to them that a lot of times I just use them by themselves. Because I know that I can always go back in with water and soften them if I want to. But I don't think I even did that on this piece. I was just trying to get some nice textured areas, which I feel like those pencils really gave me. So I think what I'm using here is some of the warm grays. They come in a range of warm grays and cool grays. and some dark browns, of course, and like the cinnamon color. And I started to use sky blue to put some more blue highlights into his eyes and also into his fur. So I just having a lot of fun with it right now, and I was really happy with the way that it turned out because I wasn't feeling like that it was going the way that I wanted it to. Or I didn't even really know where it was going. So basically what I wanted to say with this video is if you start out a piece and you're just not happy with the progress, just kind of change directions. Mixed media is a lot of fun to do. You can just experiment and see what happens. It's you don't ever have to be tied into using just one technique or just watercolor. And I like to have a lot of different art supplies to choose from, and then you might just be able to salvage a piece and have it turn out to be something that you're pretty happy about. Thanks for joining me for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll join me for the next video.